Umar Nurmagomedov versus Cory Sandhagen. This is a very interesting fight. It's finally a great test for Umar.
Yes.
So it's a great test because the main thing I'm curious about is how is Umar going to react going up against a quality, really good, really sharp striker and Cory Sandhagen. And this fight is very interesting to look at from a technical breakdown standpoint because Umar is different from, I believe, Habib is his cousin and Islam's his cousin. They're actually related. That's the relationship there. He's different from those two in that everything Habib threw in terms of strikes was very clearly to set up his grappling. Like, he very much was aware of, honestly, how piss poor his striking was from a technical standpoint and from a clean standpoint and everything. But he would do a wild flying knee way out of position with no intent at all of ever landing that, just to close the distance and dive down onto a takedown attempt and to get you kind of crapping your pants like, wow, this dude's flying at me with a knee. I'm worried about that. Oh, I'm thinking too much about the knee. The knee's not even at play. Boom, I'm on my ass. Boom, my legs are wrapped up. Boom, he's got wrist control. And now I'm stuck up against the fence until the round's over or until he chokes me. So Umar seems to be the same way with his striking, but not as direct. What do I mean by that? He has similarities to when I did my study about Merab for the upcoming Sean O'Malley fight. Him and Merab will both throw like really wild kicks, especially everybody's going to, jerk off Umar's question mark kick. His question mark kick is just so beautiful and all this shit. I think he uses it the same way Merab uses like his spinning back kick. It's just kind of like a rangefinder. It's something that, hey, get the guy off of me because I want to be the one pursuing them. I don't want them pursuing me. They both rely on like that pressure style, especially Merab more so than Umar. But it's just basically like the question mark kick is just get off me. Let me find my range. Let me see what I can get away with. And don't get me wrong, he's also in the same camp as like Aliskerov, and they'll both like they will strike with you when it suits them, when they feel like they can. But the second they feel like the striking is starting to no longer be in their favor, then that's when they're going to shoot takedowns. That's when they're going to be more willing to grapple. Like when Umar got rocked by what's his name, the former porn star dude, the Kazakhstan
Oh
dude.
God, I know exactly who you're talking about. I
Yeah,
can't think of his
everybody
name
you know
though.
who we're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah, everybody you know,
Yeah.
former porn star dude that really rocked Umar, and then thank God he had the wherewithal to shoot the takedown and not have his Islam Makhachev, Adriano Martins moment where he got finished. But yeah, really good recovery, really good chin to just instantly shoot the takedown, get the cobwebs cleared, all that. And so like Islam is kind of turning into a guy who he's way more confident in his striking. He knocked out Volkanovski with a head kick, really was, ready and willing to trade with Poirier. Umar's not there yet. He's still more willing to exchange than Habib ever was. But like I said, it's just to his comfort level. And I think even though him and his brother Usman Nurmagomedov definitely are more striking qualified and better technically at striking, than anybody else except maybe Makhachev now, like I said, because of all the improvements Makhachev's made and the confidence he's had. I still think this fight plays out with he's not going to want to stick around with Cory Sandhagen too much on the feet. And another thing about the striking is that Umar, in his limited UFC fights, has absorbed a ridiculously low amount of strikes. I want to say like something like maybe 25 strikes across all of his UFC fights. He is very elusive or something because he's not getting hit very much by strikes. Now, I do think that's going to go up significantly after this Sandhagen fight, and Sandhagen is going to be single-handedly responsible for a vast majority of those strikes landing on him and actually hitting. But I think he's going to quickly realize, all right, I can't screw around on the feet too much with this guy. He's too dangerous, and I'm going to shoot a takedown. And we've seen it with Aljo, just instantly crawled up his back, backpacked him, got the rear naked choke. Not trying to use MMA math, but I'm just saying it's an exploitable thing. He said he's worked on his grappling. I don't doubt that he's worked on his grappling, and it has been a few years since that fight, so his grappling could get better. But has he had enough time to get that advantage going up against a Nurmagomedov. That is like the whole family's thing. It's like, you know what they're going to do. You know Habib's going to shoot. You even know how he's going to shoot. You know how he's going to do things, but he changes it up just enough to where he still gets the win, to where it still keeps you on your toes, to where it still catches you by surprise. And I think that's going to be the same case for Umar. I'm not really too worried about him getting caught by that guy, even though that dude's not a good fighter and I don't think he's going to have a long UFC career. That's not really concerning to me. What would concern me is if he does get knocked out by Sandhagen, because I start to worry about anybody can get caught, anybody can get chinned in MMA. Like I said, it happened with Islam Makhachev. Who would have ever thought Adriano Martin's, a guy who hasn't even been in the UFC for years now, would have been the one to do it to him. But what would concern me is if he just gets so dominated in the striking that it kind of like exposes Umar. And to kind of like flesh that out and to give you more examples to kind of like think about it in your head, it'd be the same thing with Pereira. If Pereira gets knocked out like he did against Adesanya, anybody can get caught. I'm not really worried about that. We haven't seen Pereira against a grappler. If Pereira gets his ass kicked by a grappler and just gets held down and dominated, then I'm starting to worry, because I'm like, this is his first test against an elite grappler and he failed it horribly. Same thing with Umar. His first test against an elite striker, if he fails it horribly, I'll start to get worried. I just don't think he is. And here's some X factors that are kind of at play right now. So everybody's making a big deal about Sandhagen and like doing the WWE moves, just playing around during open workouts and everything. I don't care about that. What concerns me is I believe around 28, maybe 30 seconds of that video, maybe I'm hearing shit, maybe I'm reading too much into it. It sounds like he tells Trevor Whitman, I popped something. Or Whitman says, are you okay? And then Sandhagen says, no, it popped, or I popped something. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means he just popped his shoulder, maybe his back. I don't know. But for it to sound like Whitman said, are you okay? And then he said, no, it popped. That makes me think, did he tear something and he's just trying to keep it hidden? Is there an LCL, ACL? What's going on here? What popped? That's very concerning. And like I said, maybe I'm reading too much into it and there's nothing there and he's going to go out and he's going to win and it's not even a fucking story and I'm just making a mountain out of a molehill. Or he wins and he still comes out and says after the fact, I won this fight with a torn ACL or whatever, or I lost this fight because I tore my ACL. I'm just a little concerned about that. That's an X factor I haven't seen very many people make mention of. Nobody's really talking about that. I just think this is a perfect showcase of Umar right here. I think it's going to be a great win. I love Sandhagen. Sandhagen's been on my radar for years. I know a guy, Joshua Hardwick. Shout out to him. Deadshot Hardwick, MMA fighter out of Colorado. He first put Sandhagen on my radar. I was in the Army with him and everything with Hardwick, and he was telling me, hey, there's this guy I'm training with out in Denver, Sandhagen. He's going to be a menace. Sure as shit he was. So I'm a big Sandhagen guy. I just think that his grappling is his most exploitable weakness, and that just matches up too perfectly with that Nurmagomedov family line. And I just think it's going to be capitalized on. And I think I was getting sub a few days ago at a pretty decent line to take the edge off of how heavy Umar is at minus 325 and Sandhagen at plus 260. So if I go just straight sub, that's plus 275. So that's still really good odds to take the edge off of Umar at a minus 325. I think I'm going to go with that. I think I'm going to Umar sub at plus 275 to take the edge off because that is just the surest way to victory, especially with this being a 5-round fight. If he's not getting the sub, I'm very worried, and I don't think he's going to win a decision, so I'm not going to put my money on Umar by decision because over 5 rounds, I think Cory could pick him apart. It'd definitely be a situation where it's like the Aljo fight, and he gets it very fast, and he just crawls up the back, gets the backpack, and gets the rear naked choke. That's his go-to submission right now. That's how Umar subbed Kelleher. Like 2 other guys in the UFC sub with it, whose names I can't think of right off the top of my head, but that's his go-to. That's Aljo's go-to. I think he has improved his grappling. He'll probably last a little bit longer, definitely longer than he did against Aljo probably, but it's just going to be too much. That grappling lineage is just like royalty in the UFC, and unfortunately, I don't think Sandhagen's going to be able to do it. Like, he had some success against Jan, when it came to the grappling, because Jan, even though he's primarily a striker and he loves boxing and everything, he has a lot of sneaky trips and a lot of sneaky sweeps and everything from standing that led to some pretty cool scrambles between him and Sandhagen. So once again, evidence that Sandhagen is not a terrible grappler by any means, and he does have good defense, but Umar's just on another level, and his takedowns are just so much different than Jan's. He's not really going to try to get him from standing too much. He's all about doubles and singles, and he's very much just in like that Khabib vein of grappling. Obviously, if you can get him from standing, from sweeps and like tie sweeps and stuff, he'll take it, but it's just such a different style that it's just not going to be relevant. And I just, as much as I want to try to put that money on Cory as the big underdog, I just don't see a realistic way in my heart, mind, gut that ends other than him being steamrolled, if I'm being honest.
I agree. And if you watched I think it's called like, what was it, our big bangers? Or like our five guys.
5 favorite fighters currently.
Yes, Umar was one of my guys, so he's going to stay on my list with me picking him here. He's getting 76% of the bets, 63% of the money. Vegas doesn't care too much with only having to pay out a minus 325 price. Watching this, looking for that edge, I watched the Rob Font fight, and there were a couple things that were pretty glaringly obvious. Cory Sandhagen is really good controlling people and where the fight goes by digging underhooks, and he's not going to be able to beat Umar in hand fighting and positioning in grappling at all. Umar is just too good, and Rob Font was getting to Cory Sandhagen's legs. He was getting them quick. He was getting his takedowns, getting this fight to the mat. They spent a lot of time on the mat in that fight. I just think Umar is just too good. I think he's going to get to Cory Sandhagen's legs, take him down, and I think he is still live for a decision. We have seen quite a few decisions out of Umar. We were all thinking he was going to get the sub against this guy. Believe he came up on short notice to fight Umar, and it was just kind of like a no-name dude and rocked Umar, and then Umar, I think, just cruised to a decision win, didn't get the sub against him. Cory Sandhagen's very good, so I think if this does go the full 5 rounds, like you're saying, he can't stand there and bang with Sandhagen. That's not going to be his way to win this, but I think he can take him down at the beginning of each round and just kind of ride him out, bang, 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 get him some punches, maybe try some submission wins. Also, like, Makayev just got kicked out, but I think now that we're hearing more, it's more of like a PFL thing, since he was saying, oh, I can make more money there, and he's trying to twist the UFC's arm. I think it's more of that than his wrestling style, because Umar is very much so the boring wrestling style that's not going to fly over here in the U.S. Over there, they're not going to boo him as much because that's their boy. Over here, he would just get booed out of the stadium with his type of style that he has. And I think one of the reasons he can just ride Sandhagen out is, say it with me, class. He's got elite top game. Shout out to your mom.
Oh.
So I'm going to take Umar too. I'm going to do the double method though. I'm going to take the submission and decisions at minus 250. Right now it looks like Vegas thinks Umar's going to win by decision because his decision's plus 110. I'm going to take it. Once again, minus 250 is not a great line, but go back. We're at like a plus 455 there. So we've got plenty of underdogs that we picked. Here, I don't feel like taking my chances on Umar.
So before we do the haymaker, you got me fired up. I didn't think you were going to say that, talk about the Makayev thing. Do you want me to go on a quick little rant, or do you want to do a quick episode after this about Makayev? Because you got me fired up with that one.
Let's do a quick episode after this. That way, guys, if you want to hear about that, head over to that video, okay?
There we go. I like it. So we'll do a quick little explanation of my thoughts on the whole Makayev finger quotations firing.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listening and cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top, hey. Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome, welcome to our podcast. better win green.